Hello, viewers. Well, we've just had a fun race at Baku as I record this. Always action in those streets. It's a high-speed circuit, lots of challenging corners and lots of drama as well. We're going to talk a bit about that. And, of course, the main event today is more chat about F1 2021, some of the key aspects we're going to look forward to in the game and just discussing some of what we've seen so far. Again, this is still at a preview stage. I'm joined today again by Tim. Hello, Tim.
Hey, Alan, great to be here.
And thanks for coming on. And again, just the jovial chat. You're a big Formula One fan. Obviously, you work on our F1 content and our review every year. And it's always great to get your input because there are so many options in Formula One that I often forget. Is that new? Was that not new? How have they improved that? And where are the areas that need improvement outside of just the driving, which is normally my core focus? So Baku, then, I have to say, an action race. It's funny. It was a race of two stages. It was a race where we got a long way without a safety car, and we had good action up front. I mean, strong performance from the Red Bulls. Charles Leclerc falling backwards, but strong performance from Pierre Gasly. Really good in the battle in the midfield. Though it's nice to see Sergio Perez with, I thought, some excellent laps coming up through the field up to third place, then eventually having the pit stop coming out. Could have been in the lead had his pit stop gone a bit better for him. He slightly overshot his mark, and just a great result for Red Bull before it all kicked off with the initial red flag with Lance Stroll. But Tim, we'll go through very briefly on the race. Your thoughts on the Baku race?
I think it was great, wasn't it? I thought to begin with we were going to be served with an hour and a half of Paul di Resta commentary and a dull race at some point, which is not how I like to spend my Sunday afternoons. But that aside, it was an entertaining couple of hours in the end with all the stoppages. I actually thought at the end that I bet Lando Norris is going to be kicking himself because had he not had that penalty, he would have started ahead of Perez, and now we don't know what the McLaren race pace would have been, but I'm sure that's definitely a podium that he's probably missed out on today when you look at Gasly scoring a deserved third place anyway. Is it a mistake, the driver error apparently by Lewis, and I think they said at the end that it looks like his car was in a brake mode setting. They put the car in through a safety car and he hadn't switched it off, hence why they were smoking on the grid, and when he got down to the first corner he outbraked himself. But you know what, I like these sort of fun races where it's not according to the script, so we leave here, the championship is no different from what it was 3 hours ago, and we've got the story goes on for that. But at least for the Baku race, great to see Perez get his first win for Red Bull. I'm sure Dr. Marco will be happy with that. And, great to see Seb back on the podium again, and Aston Martin coming up. And good, well done to Pierre Gasly, who seemed to be having a good weekend. He topped practice on one of the sessions. And, great to see. And I think there'll be a lot of people going home today thinking they could have scored more points or a podium or something like that. But no, an entertaining race before we go on to the boredom that is France.
Absolutely. Well, I will say there's bound to be a big investigation on the tyre, what appears to be tyre failures on the two cars. That's definitely a major source of concern because the tyre didn't wear out. So perhaps there was an issue with the sidewalls or the pressures. Either way, big investigation there because that was the way the tyres went. It wasn't like the delaminations we saw with Lewis and Valtteri, where we knew they were at the end of their tyre life and they were pushing it. These tyres still had a long way to go in terms of life cycle. And when they went at high speed, high load, very dangerous. So big inquiry needed for that. Great result, I think, for Sebastian Vettel. Phenomenal drive from him and from, as I say, Perez coming up and Gasly getting in there. And it's like you say, with McLaren, they weren't able to maximise their potential in some respects. But I think if you said to Lando, you're going to finish fifth, I think he'd have taken it. And it's funny, say a lot of people kicking themselves. I kind of felt everybody was after qualifying as well. Nobody really felt that happy that they'd got the maximum out the car. And I think, again, today it's one of those where right place, right time opportunities. Either way, felt for Max because he was so in control of the race. And that was a great shame for him. It was quite interesting that on the restart, actually, Toto was saying afterwards, I don't have the exact quote, but along the lines of Lewis didn't make a mistake. He just hit a button by accident, which I think is quite interesting. Lewis didn't make a mistake. It's just he hit a button by accident on the restart. Well, that's a mistake, isn't it? All right, whatever. So either way, it doesn't matter. It's status quo didn't change in the championship, but it really is good for the mid-season. But it gets Aston Martin into that battle with the points, and Alpha Tauri are going to be in there as well, and Yuki Tsunoda certainly needed a good result, and he had a better result today. And it's nice to have Fernando in the mix as well. The Alpine just isn't I'm not going to call it Alpine. The Alpine is simply not performing in the way they'd hoped this year. I don't feel they've unlocked the potential of the car, so certainly a lot to do. And like you say, French Grand Prix, Paul Ricard, the boredom of Paul Ricard next. I mean, visually,
it's tested, doesn't it? It's you've got to put that god awful circuit again. So
it's a shame because it's dull to watch on TV. I mean, I watched it on TV and I remember saying, "What corner are they at?" Oh, I don't know. I just couldn't tell sometimes from TV coverage because it's so similar. It's the corner with the blue lines. Goodness, it really is bad for your eyes. I don't like it. I mean, Manicourt often was a boring Grand Prix. Many people won't remember it, but it was often, unless there was rain, it was pretty boring there. But I mean, when there would rain, it could be pretty exciting. But certainly, it felt better than what we've seen at Paul Ricard. But we wait and see with
DRS. They should race at Le Mans. They should race at the Circuit de la Sarthe. They should. I'd love to see F1 cars race around there, but there we go.
Yeah, actually, well, they do have the Bugatti circuit, the shorter version of the circuit. I mean, perhaps that'd be, I say, it wouldn't be too short. They had Sakir last year, which was a very short circuit, and Bugatti circuit certainly be longer than that. So it would be nice to mix it up and try a circuit like that. Why not, given that we've just had Singapore Grand Prix cancelled, and I at the moment still find it unlikely we're going to go to South America for any races, but we wait and see. It just seems unlikely to me, what with everything that's going on in the world right now. So exciting races, exciting for Formula One. As you say, the rules will change next year, and then all this close racing will be over, and Red Bull will probably be 2 seconds down the road on every lap. So we wait and see. And I'm just thinking that because of Adrian Newey, and people forget the genius of Adrian Newey, which is what's kept Red Bull all the way up there. Amazing. Right. Moving on. F1 2021. I did a preview on it a few days ago. Obviously, there's subtle improvements to visuals, not big improvements to visuals now because it's a PS4 game. There's only so far they can go with a PS4 game. And so you'll see subtle improvements between, the PS5 and the Xbox, and just upped resolutions and frame rates, stuff like that. We won't see a true, PS5 Xbox version for another 2, 3, 4 years probably. So it's going to be a long time. But either way, they are sticking in bags of new options. So it seems to be F1 really is about, let's just layer the options in, seems to be the new thing. Tim, you've played a lot more of the recent Formula One games than I have in terms of knowing some of these options. And you've seen a presentation recently from Mather, which explains some of what we can look forward to in the game. I just wondered what had caught your eye so far, some of the key highlights so far.
Well, I think the obvious one is going to be the Breaking Point series. I know we've had a little bit of a story in a game, I think it was that 2019, I think it was, with the F2 pre-season mode. So yeah, it'd be great to see that develop. And whilst I'm not a big football fan, I did actually quite enjoy the FIFA stories that EA did through FIFA 17, 18, 19, I think it was. So great to sort of see more of that, and perhaps now with EA's money, should we say, an investment in in Codemasters, we'll see a development of that in years to come. So that's going to be interesting to see. I hope it's more than just a very linear story. I think it might be, but again, hopefully that development will come through where, depending on how you finish a race or score a result, will dictate how the story will play out. But maybe that's for seasons to come. Aside from that, I quite like the sound of the real season start. The fact that you can pick up the actual season and continue to try to change the results or continue a particular driver through the rest of the season. I think that's an interesting aspect, and that brings the sport closer to the player, which is good. And then there's the 2-player championship, which, if you've got, I'm sure, brothers or sisters in the same family, that's great to do that long-term gaming aspect. I would still like to see, and whether this is too out there, I don't know, but I long back to the days of playing Jeff Crammond Grand Prix and Grand Prix 2, particularly back on my old PC, or I think I had an Atari ST at the time, and I played 2-player as a 1-player. So, you could play as a single team but take both those drivers through to win championships, but you faded in and out of playing each driver through the race 3 or 4 times, and I loved that. Have never seen it implemented or been possible to implement in a game since, and I still feel this is a game mode that is screaming to come through in modern day gaming, where you can actually play as a team. And certainly when you look at my team, wouldn't that be better if you could take control of both drivers instead of being this player manager thing, which just is so unrealistic in the real world that it just grates on me. So I'm sure that will exist in the 2021 edition of Formula One. Anything else though? Practice modes, I know they've, by the sounds of it, changed it a little, but I know I'm still convinced there is a game mode within there. Have many different options of practice modes through that. They could be released as packs and downloadable DLC, which would be fantastic to see. But by the sounds of it, it's just a rehash of what they've currently got, but the ability where you can now skip it or do a shortened version with you still get the same rewards from it, but doing it in a quicker time. I don't know. As long as you don't get your engineer moaning at you saying that you're missing practice sessions again, then that's the main thing. So let's hope the workaround is a positive. I think it's disappointing that all the new tracks aren't in it from the start. I think when you see tracks being made available in other racing series, very quick timing, and not to see all the tracks ready from the beginning from release date, I think is a disappointing aspect. But it is what it is. But we have been promised that they are going to come later on in the year, along with F2 2021 season drivers and teams as well. So it's good to see that there's going to be that continual support as we're used to now with particularly 2019 and 2020. We've had that constant support through the year. So I think there's some really interesting new modes coming through for 2021 edition. But I think, as you said, Alan, it is such a vast game now with so many options. I think it's a little bit option overload, really. And I think even just looking at some of the option screens coming up, I'm not sure whether I'm really going to know how to set the game up for the first time when I play it properly, away from reviews and playing it as a games player. So we'll see how that plays out. I think it might be a little bit too much for most people.
Yeah, I mean, just looking, I mean, the preview build we have right now is very limited, but already when I was, learning about the game, I was feeling overwhelmed by the amount of options now. And if you're a beginner, you can do this. If you can do a beginner, you can do this, and this. You can do all these new things. And I think, is a beginner even going to find those options? I'm finding it completely overwhelming. I just want to jump in and race. And I see that the game has grown to enormous proportions at the moment in terms of the management side and all that. So hugely impressive in terms of what they're putting into the game now. But at the same time, when we see the final game, we'll see how it works in terms of intuitive design and longevity. And
I
that's
feel
a
like
question that we'll see.
just a quick thing there, Alan.
Mm.
I feel like there is again a missed opportunity here. You've got all of these options. Why don't they build some form of driving academy, testing session, and they throw all of these different scenarios at you, and it comes out of it saying, "Oh, we think you're this level of ability," or "We think you drive a car in this particular way," instead of going through umpteen options and menus and then seeing what that then looks like and feels like in the game. I feel like there's a wonderful way to basically make the experience of choosing all these options in a game way, so that's actually a little more engaging as opposed to just pages and pages of menus. But I'm no games designer, so.
No, I think sometimes with different games and not just about Formula One here, many sort of annual franchises is they have a plan that they start with, and then they just build on the game and build on the game and build on the game, and it all gets a little bit messy. And every generation, you need a complete restart. Wipe the slate. Let's. We've got all the options now. We need to restructure it. And I think that sometimes you can be jack of all trades and master of none. And I think you need a core focus. And the core focus for me is the driving. It should always be on the driving above all else and all the elements around the driving. I think for those that like the one-player mode, it's good that they've got those elements there. But we're in this market now where you've got to make a game because it's so expensive to make. You've got a game that caters for everyone, and that's a very difficult thing to do these days. And you sort of wonder whether there are some things that could be better along the way, whether it's for esports and online stability or just in terms of the driving. But I'm all about the driving. And for me, I look forward to the day when we can really step forward in terms of the visuals and adding VR and, really making the driving feel more realistic and more connected to the car. And they have made great progress to that, of course. There's always progress every year, but there's still a way to go. So, and the same with track modeling as well. We've talked about it. The new tracks are coming later this year. But it did seem quite slow in 2020. If we just talk about that for a second, they didn't add tracks to 2020. We expected them to add, given that they already had some modelled in terms of F1 2013 Imola. And I say that because when I look at say tracks like Spa in 2020, for example, the tracks haven't evolved in years and years and years. So they're still bringing I don't know how complex it would have been bringing across Imola and putting a few banners on there here and there, but I can't see the tracks designed that much. But that's a question I couldn't answer. And if I do have the opportunity one day, I will ask Lee or Paul at Codemasters to go through that process, because I do feel that fans in general, when they it's very hard for us as fans to understand why, for example, the corner that's changed at Barcelona won't be added this year, or if it does, why it takes a year or 9 months to make that change on one corner, given the workload can't be that big, one would think.
Particularly when actually changing a corner at an actual track in real life can be done in a couple of months.
Yeah, exactly. That's an artist doing a job. How hard can it be to make a change like that? So it does seem a bit odd, but it is what it is. I accept what it is, and we'll just wait and see when we see the final game and what we see the final tracks are like. And if we see that Imola and Portimao and these tracks are considerably different, then we can see how they've remodeled it from the ground up then and laser scanned everything. Then that'll be good to see. Let's hope so. But no, I think that's about it really for this preview, Tim. Not too much to say on this one. For those of you watching, I am going to be doing a your comments chat across this video and the recent Gran Turismo and the F1 preview. So you'll be seeing some of that as well. I'll be giving some verbal replies to some of your comments. And as for the F1, well, we'll have a couple more preview videos to come up, but then that'll be it till we receive the final game, and then we'll go in depth and we'll really look at the changes that have been made and discuss those, as well as, again, a bit more about the elements we'd like to see in the game, where F1 goes from here, as well as a consideration of the impact that EA will have on Formula One. There's bound to be some changes there, and when those changes will come about. We'll talk about all these elements, but that's it for myself and Tim for now. Tim, thanks for your time today.
Always a pleasure. I look forward to the more in-depth review and engagement around that later in the year.
Brilliant. Thanks, Tim. And thanks for those of you watching today. Do remember to like and subscribe. It supports what we do. And that's it from me for now. Look forward to more F1 coverage, and there'll be more from me very soon.
So as they climb out of the car, the Red Bull team are ready and waiting to celebrate a thoroughly well-deserved win. And talk to me. What do you think it was that sealed the win for them?
Well, I think it was clear what the main contributing factor out on the track was today: speed. I know it sounds like an obvious thing to say, Crofty, but fast cars win races, and we saw that today with our winner.
The drivers are en route to the podium as we speak. What a fantastic win for the Red Bull team. They performed exceptionally today, keeping us firmly on the edge of our seats throughout the entirety of the race. Congratulations to everyone at the team.
Hello viewers, well thanks for watching the video today. Do like and subscribe, it supports what we do. Do become a YouTube member. YouTube Patreon supports all of our content you see on the channel, and of course lots of gaming from retro to modern games. I love it all in terms of racing action. So click on one of the two videos just there to find out more.